So when you look at this, like doing the training certification with Sherpas specifically, I mean, I'm drilling down to a very specific topic, right? Of how do you plan effectively around succession, a key leadership transition. What was it about this topic, even though it's so specific, you've got a lot of different issues you're dealing with, but why was it this specific topic that you chose to invest the time and the money to go through that process? Because there's no shortage of opportunities for you, things you could have done.
Part of our role as an association, as I mentioned, is to help churches in all contexts. You can't be an expert at everything. It's just impossible in today's world. But to find somebody that has a great tool that we don't have to reinvent. Why reinvent something that somebody has spent years developing and worked through? Why not take that and plug it in and plug and play, so to speak? And for example, when you came a couple of months ago and we did a workshop here.
When was that? Was that in June or was that in July? It was the end of June, wasn't it?
June.
It was a week or a week and a half after the convention. June 25th or something like that Friday. Last Friday in June is when it was.
We had a room full. We had 4, including myself, we had 4 directors of missions here. One of the ladies from one of our churches started a conversation, and we now have been able to go into that church. And just the 15-point assessment, just that one tool, you get immediate conversation. It's not like there are other processes that you can use to do long-term planning and all that. Our association, when we rewrote our mission statement and all that, we took 10 months.
Right.
Well, sometimes you don't have 10 months, and you need to go in one conversation,
really
create the environment to begin opening up the discussions. So that just one tool that you provide is the 15-point assessment.
A stability assessment.
We've done that in one of our churches. And it's an ongoing conversation that leads to other things. One of the points of assessment is what needs does your facility have? That's a whole conversation by itself.
It is.
There could be a subset of items that you could put just even on that one thing. So we found that these are tools, ready-made tools that we can use that help us accomplish what we're about. And really, if a church is successful, we're successful.
And that actually helps with my vision because, I love the fact that I came here, right? We had, 30 churches? 25, 30 churches, however many it was. And there are conversations where churches are picking up the phone and they're not calling Will Heath. They're calling
our association.
Your association. So I get to put the tools in your hand, and you get to be the expert and the guide, if you will, to walk your churches through.
Another one of the tools that is part of the package. I had a pastor the other day. One of his staff members came to that training, and his staff member went back and said, "Pastor, we need to talk about this." Because the pastor's within a couple of years of retirement, and now has actually extended his retirement a couple of years in order for me to come in and begin the conversation.
Wait a second. I didn't know this.
No, I hadn't had the chance to tell you.
So you have a pastor. I mean, this is a big deal, right? You have a pastor that is saying, "Hey, I was gonna retire here, but I'm actually moving my retirement back, not because he's a control freak, but he wants to give the church time to actually adequately prepare."
He's pushing it back almost a year and a half. Just in order, he said, "I want you to come in, talk with our leaders, and so we can get things in place." We talked about other examples of churches that have done it well. And he wants to give enough off-ramp time for him, but on-ramp time for somebody else.
I love that. I love that. There's this idea that I've heard this in so many different contexts, that anytime a pastor delays their transition, they're doing it because they want to control. And I'm like, man, like, you're putting an example into something that I've been feeling for a while. It's like, most pastors, I don't feel, want to actually be control freaks, but they genuinely care for their people and they want to shepherd their people through a season of transition. They just don't know how. They don't know how to have the conversation.
One of the things you bring up in the training is everything is contingent upon the pastor that's leaving. And the first component is it's emotional first.
Yeah, Pishka, yeah.
There's a lot of emotion. If a church has had a pastor for 20 some years, the church goes through transition emotionally because this guy's not going to no longer be our pastor, and the pastor himself has to transition emotionally, plus his family.
Right.
Plus the pastor's wife. I mean, there's a whole lot of unseen stuff. You could have a really good plan in place, but the whole emotional part may not help you.
Train wreck.
Yeah,
It's train wreck.
it could be.
So just to, for you, as you've looked at, and you've been certified in various tools. I mean, your tool chest, you've built a really healthy tool chest. Plus just the things that you personally have developed over time. What is something that you would say is made the Sherpa training distinct? Obviously, I'm focusing on succession planning. Like that's a very specific. Other than the topic itself, like what are you saying that is distinct with the tools of Sherpa versus maybe some of the other certifications? It's not good, better than, or whatever. It's just how are some of the tools different?
A couple of things I would say is it has some components that you can take in and get a quick win. Like in one meeting, you can get a whole lot of conversation, good and bad. Good meaning we need to talk about this. Bad, we don't want to talk about this.
Right.
But you've just put your finger on a nerve that needs to be touched.
You elevate the tools, elevate conversations that need to be had that otherwise wouldn't.
Other tools do that, but I think these are geared specifically as a package to be able to address a variety of needs.
Yeah.
Plus, you train us to go in. And as you know, associations are the closest entity to a church.
Right.
A church might have a relationship with another organization, but we're the ones that deal with almost all churches, different backgrounds, different contexts, different cultures. And we try to have enough tools to be able to shape those and craft it to meet the needs of the church.
Yeah.